February 15th, 2022, regular board meeting of the Muskogee School Board. At this time, I'd like for everyone to stand as Reverend Dr. Reuben McIntosh will lead us in our invocation.
Good evening. Let us pray. Eternal God, we come at this hour to invoke your presence here at our MPS School Board meeting. We thank you, Lord, for our MPS board members, Dr. Mendenhall, our district cabinet, school leaders, teachers, staff, students, parents, and the community. Lord, we ask for your continued strength and motivation as we serve each day. We thank you for guiding our decision-making in order for every student in our district to be safe and successful. Please bless our efforts as we continue to foster an inclusive culture of excellence. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing as we pledge allegiance to the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Item 2.
Item 2, acceptance of election results. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, to accept the results of the school election conducted on February 8th, 2022, as certified by the Muskogee County Election Board. A, election of Board Member Ward Number 4, Deborah Horsechief.
Move to accept item 2.
Second. It's been moved and seconded we accept item 2. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.
Item 3, administration of oath of office and loyalty oath to new board member. Ms. Horsechief, would you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you hereby declare under oath that you will faithfully perform the duties as a member of the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 20 of Muskogee County, Oklahoma, to the best of your ability, and that you will faithfully discharge all the duties pertaining to said office and obey the Constitution and laws of the United States and Oklahoma?
I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oklahoma, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to the best of your ability, the duties of your office or employment during such time as you are a member of the Board of Education of Muskogee Independent School District 20?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
I would like to just take this opportunity to welcome you to the Board of Education, Mrs. Horsechief, and glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, item 4.
Item 4, public participation in board meetings. We have not received any requests this evening.
Item 5.
Item 5, recognition of staff members.
Good evening, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board, and members of our community. We are always excited to acknowledge great teachers in our district, and this evening we have 2 that we'd like to highlight. Ms. Cranford, are you here? Yes. Can you please come up along with Dr. McIntosh? Mrs. Cranford is a 4th grade teacher at Cherokee Elementary who serves relentlessly as a teacher leader for Cherokee Elementary. She's willing to do whatever it takes for students, team members, and parents to be successful. Ms. Cranford can always be found engaging scholars in rigorous lessons that are engaged to not only close the instructional gap, but also prepare them to be on grade level and advance their academic success. If you've had an opportunity to walk into Ms. Cranford's classroom, I can tell you she is always up and moving, and kids are always engaged and happy to be there. And so thank you for your commitment. I can remember when you first came to Muskogee. We appreciate your hard work and commitment to our students. Dr. McIntosh, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, it's always a joy to serve with Ms. Cranford. She pours so much into our scholars, and so no matter knowing that we come from diverse backgrounds, she celebrates the individual scholar. And so we're working right now in our wax museum learning about historical blacks in the Muskogee area that have made notable contributions, business owners, etc. And Ms. Cranford just pours her all into everything that she does. She commits to lifelong learning. She's recently received her national board certification. So we're just truly proud and thankful to serve with you, Ms. Cranford.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next, we have a teacher at the 6th and 7th grade academy, and although she isn't here, Ms. Dawkins, would you like to at least come up and say a few words once I'm done? So our next teacher to highlight is Natasha Franklin. She is a career special education teacher who has served her whole career in Muskogee Public Schools. She's known to go above and beyond the call of duty to serve students and families at the 6th and 7th grade academy. I can tell you this is Ms. Dawkins' first year opening the 6th and 7th grade academy, and she has worked diligently to find the best teachers to stand before our kids. And so if Ms. Franklin were here, we let her know how much we appreciate her, and thank you so much for your commitment to our students. As a special education teacher, I can tell you they are not, there aren't many out there, so we are blessed to have her. And Ms. Dawkins, would you like to say a couple words?
I would just like to say anyone that knows Mrs. Franklin knows that I'm not being biased when I say she's one of the best in the state of Oklahoma. She's an amazing teacher, all-around teacher, and is always willing to serve in our building and across the district. She is actually not here this evening because she is serving in the community with our student council. She's also our student council advisor. So we, on behalf of Ms. Franklin, we do accept this award, and thank you for acknowledging her.
And while we certainly enjoy and love to celebrate our teachers, we also want to celebrate those that support from our support ranks. Unable to be here tonight, though, is Catherine Hall for some of the same reasons. But we are still honored to provide, to get support from her, highlighting, Ms. Hall has been with Muskogee Public for over 10 years. She was nominated by her colleagues and what they say for always working to promote student success with all of our special needs students, making them an active part of the classroom and the school environment. She works with the teachers and takes the initiative when she sees the need. She's compassionate and encouraging with her students and quick to adapt to any situation that may come her way, which we know many situations come their way. Ms. Dawkins, would you also like to say a few words about Ms. Hall?
Again, Ms. Hall, anyone that has served with Catherine Hall, she is amazing. She served our country. After she served our country, she came back to Muskogee community, and she serves our students every single day. She is amazing. She couldn't be here because of a community commitment, but again, we thank you for acknowledging the greatness we have going on with our staff and students at the 6th and 7th grade academy.
All right, thank you, thank you. Next, we're going to celebrate one of our bus drivers. This is Melissa Goforth. Miss Goforth's, this is her first year with Muskogee Public School. Talk about rising to the top immediately. Might as well. She comes to us from California, sunny California. Miss Goforth's colleagues nominate her, saying that she is the highest example of a professional school bus driver. Agreed? Absolutely. Yeah. She has been trained and certified in the state of California, where I'm told becoming a bus driver is among one of the toughest states in the union in order to get and maintain that license. People tell us that she's always at the ready and goes beyond her assigned duties and helps when help is needed. She is a highly tuned driver and especially pleasant to work alongside. Brad?
Absolutely. Anybody that's put a puzzle together knows as you get towards the last few pieces, you can kind of see things starting to come together. That's Melissa. Melissa came and joined us at the beginning of this school year. As you have already pointed out, she quickly rose to the top. She is a shining star for a number of reasons. First of all, she's always one of the very first ones to volunteer to do something extra, and that's special. She's volunteered not only in our organization, she's gone over many, many days and helped over at Child Nutrition when they've been short, helping at a number of other schools. She does things that never looks for it. It's just things people notice. When somebody's sick, someone's down, she'll be the first one to go clean up their bus, spray their bus, do things like that. She wouldn't have any idea we were going to talk about that. But one of the most things I'm most proud of her is she always has a positive attitude. Everybody is drawn to that, and we're very lucky to have her, and I'm just proud that we're getting the chance to introduce her. Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
And also want to put a quick shout out to our community for each of our awardees tonight. They're going to get gift certificates for dinners at either Smack That or from Boomerang. So thank you to both of those companies. Thank you.
Item 6.
Item 6, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, we are so thankful tonight. We've got 3 different reports tonight. If you don't mind, what I'd like to do is take them a little bit out of order. Actually, probably not, because if I do that, all of the guys in the very back are looking at me like, don't do that. So we will go with transportation report first. I thought he was actually walking out with her, so okay. So Brad, if you'll come on up and give our transportation report.
Thank you, Dr. Randall, all members of the board. It's my pleasure to once again come as Director of Transportation to talk about the effectiveness of transportation. You know, it's only been about a year ago since I was here, and we kind of started this very same way, and that's talking about how many employees are represented at the Department of Transportation, and just a year ago, it was 43. Today, we are down to 34. So I'm proud because to give an effectiveness, we were very effective. When I started, we had 58, I believe it was, just 7 years ago. Today, we're down to 34. I'm not real proud of that because, as you might know and understand, we're in a bus driver shortage, and that certainly represents the majority of that. Today, the employees consist of 34 employees, which are 22 drivers, 7 bus monitors, 3 mechanics, and 3 office staff. Today, we are short 6 employees. Always like to talk about where we started. Muskogee Public Schools began transporting students 124 years ago on September of 1898. However, busing was only available to children living in rural areas up through 1960. Today, Transportation Department transports over 2,600 students daily through our 133 square mile district. Students are eligible to ride a bus if they live over a half a mile from their school, and exceptions to that are when they have to cross a busy street or there are serious safety concerns while walking to school. Last year, Muskogee Public School logged over 410,000 miles, even in a pandemic. Safely transporting our students to and from school every day remains our highest priority. Next, I want to talk just a little bit about COVID-22. One of the things we've taken very serious at transportation is how it affects transportation when we have COVID in our building. We've done everything we can to keep that from happening. We've never had to close school down over transportation, and basically here's why. We've taken it seriously. Today we continue to sanitize our buses daily. We social distance all of our staff every single day that we can. Driving with our windows open to enhance ventilation, we continue to do. We've moved our time clock mailboxes from the office back into our bigger areas, and we've limited those that come into the office while social distancing and wearing a mask as much as possible. Masks are strongly encouraged for all of our bus riders, and we continue to sanitize all of our office spaces daily. I want to spend just a second talking about our current inventory facts for transportation. Today, we have 37 school buses, and I'm proud to report in that 100 years of driving buses, this year is the very first year, thank you, Dr. Mendenhall, thank you, the board, Mr. Crawley, Mr. Chester. They all deserve a big pat on the back because this is the very first year in Muskogee that we have had the inventory that we have where every single bus is air conditioned. And that's a big step. That's a big, big step. Pat yourselves on the back for that. We have 4 activity buses, 5 mini buses, or 14 passengers that do not require CDLs. We have 2 vans. We have 3 administrative, or what we call carpool vehicles, loaners. You want me to use that? Loaners. For our administrators, principals, teachers, administrators that are going to meetings in various locations. It really saves us money where we're not paying mileage to our employees any more than we absolutely have to. We have 56 support vehicles, which include IT, child nutrition, maintenance, police, and administrative vehicles. We use approximately 60,000 gallons of diesel a year. Last year, even in COVID, not having school, we still utilized 50,000 gallons of diesel. We use approximately 18,500 gallons of unleaded every year, even last year, because of course support was up, working most of the time, even the school was shut down, so last year, even in COVID, we used 18,000 gallons of unleaded. Let's talk in our current inventory to show you just a little bit more in picture form. Right here you can see these beautiful buses that we have. They're fine representation, make us very, very proud. We have recently updated our bus fleet, adding 2 new activity buses, as you can see here on the left. We're going to have 4 of those at the beginning of school next year to help us with our activities. These buses here on the right, we also use on activities. As you see there, these are big, beautiful. They're high capacity seating. There's undercarriage there to get our band and athletic people around all over the state. We are in good shape for the next 5 years, and we'll go on. And we also have a brand new handicap bus that we're very, very excited about. Although being transportation, as you all know, we always have lots of challenges. Our number 1 challenge, of course, continues to be driver shortage, and it just continues to get worse. The good news is we do have a plan about that. Also, other challenges are the high price of fuel. Obviously, when we're using as much fuel as we just talked about, fuel prices today are up about 35%. Well, that becomes a challenge on our existing budget. We have mechanics that continue to drive buses rather than working on busing. This is one of our challenges where we continue to work in-house rather than outsource repairs outside of our shop. Out-of-town field trips continue to be a big problem for us as we can't afford to have drivers gone and taking trips to Oklahoma City and things like that. These continue to be our challenges. Rising costs of athletic travels, as we continue to say, we're very, very proud of our athletic team. But one of the things that's caused us to struggle a little bit down at transportation is we continue to have many, many more activities, many, many more groups doing athletics, which is awesome, but it challenges our budget as we continue to drive more and more athletic miles. We're currently just fixing to put into place Tyler Drive training. We're looking forward to doing that next Monday. Finally, COVID's taken a lot of that timing away from us, and it's been a challenge, but we're going to get there. As always, transportation is ready for feedback to improve how we can do a better Muskogee way, and we'll be glad to take questions from any.
Tell us a little bit about Tyler Drive training. You mentioned that, so tell us what that is.
Well, Tyler Drive is something that the district, you guys, have invested in, and it does a lot of things for us. Like what? It brings a tablet into the driver's hands, not necessarily while he's driving, of course, but it's there. It gives them turn-by-turn directions. It allows us to do a lot of great things, just a few of them. Probably next year we'll be scanning, kids will get on the bus, they'll scan on the bus. Who cares, right? Well, mom might. And next year we'll have a parental app where they can watch and see that the kids are scanning on. They'll know exactly in real time when they're getting on a bus, when they're getting off the bus. Rather than wondering where the bus is, if the bus isn't there right on time, they'll be able to get on the parental app and see that the bus is running just a few minutes behind. And of course, there's lots and lots of things that cause delays, but they'll be able to see that in real time. They'll know if they've missed the bus. Other things it does for us, it allows one driver to jump on any bus and be able to go because it's simply turn by turn. If they're getting a little bit ahead of the schedule, it's going to tell them to slow down, stop, wait a second, to catch up with the time. Obviously, it finds the most effective, shortest route through the district. It allows them.
So it's really a GPS, right?
Absolutely, yes. And we can see what they're doing in real time all the time. So it just gives us more control.
The last time you were here, you
Yes,
visited with us about possible recruiting
Yes.
process, and you mentioned the plan for drivers.
Yes.
Could you speak to that just a
I
little bit?
can. I'm glad. It's a great question. Thank you for asking that. One of the things we've been working hard on is figuring out how to get bus drivers. It's not a Muskogee problem, it's not a state problem, it's a nationwide problem. One of the things that we've attempted to do here is one of the problems is our bus drivers are 6 hours, like most of our child nutrition workers. A lot of our custodial staff are 4 hours. Some of our child nutrition people are 4. What we're hoping that we can do, and we've actually had several that have applied just in the last week, that want to come on board as a custodian. They can't afford to go to school, but we can hire them as a custodian. That's one of our biggest problems is hiring custodians in the district today. Any position, like everybody. But when we can hire them on as a custodial person, full-time, we can send them to school, we'll pay their way to school. They come out on the other side and they're gonna make more money than custodial, being a bus driver, and we'll split shift it. They'll come over and work in transportation a couple hours in the morning, go back over and work in custodial, come back in the afternoon and finish up a couple hours driving a bus in the afternoon. So what happens in reality, it takes 2 employees, a custodial person and a bus driver, makes them happier because they get more hours. It helps the district because we're not having so much health care on 2 employees. It's 1 doing 2 people's jobs. Does that make sense? And so on and so forth. And hopefully that's going to work, and we think that's a great plan. And so far, it's working out well. Any other questions?
Has the State Department lessened any of the requirements for the CDL? I know
You know,
that was
they
good.
really haven't. I know some of you have heard about that, but understand it's not a state deal. It's Department of Transportation, it's federal. Now, the state recently did give people that are going for testing the option of not doing the underhood part of the test, which is a heavy burden on that, but it comes with a heavy cost. First of all, they can never drive over a state line. It's a Oklahoma-issued license, but they can't federally travel. They can't travel over a state line, which isn't a big deal to a lot of people, but remember that exclusion is temporarily through the month of March. And then it
You
goes
got the
back.
bus, you got the bus down here at the Galleria,
Yes.
and it talks about vehicles, and right below that, Galleria says, take home today, and I thought, you can take your CDL home today?
Yeah,
That's
it would be
crazy.
nice if it were that easy, wouldn't it? Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for transportation?
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
very
We
much.
always
Thank you, Brad.
encourage you to emails right there, dispatchers@rutgers.net for questions. We're always here to answer anybody's questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carler, could you come up and present our bond projects to us, please?
I do want to address one other question. Mr. Jefferson, you asked about have there been changes. Yes, the state did also waive that requirement, and Mr. Smythe can follow up on this, but we've gone from 20 hours of professional development, and I believe it's either this month or at the end of this month, that moves into 100 hours of continuing professional development.
An additional 40, yes, sir.
Okay, additional 40. So we've increased that 200%. To answer your question, is the state listening? I'm just not sure the balance between state and federal requirements. I think our local legislators, I know Mr. Pemberton's very interested in this, wants to help. But gosh, it doesn't seem like we're doing anything to really realize the crisis
Right.
that it is. And you see with 22, that is really with zero wiggle room. Our next step would be to step up and ask some coaches who have their CDLs, but that would affect the academic classroom for a little bit. We'd have to find coverage to do that. So I think there'd be people willing to help us in an emergency, but now we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're hurting ourselves on the instructional side. So I think anything we can do to continue to work with our city to provide safer routes where more kids can walk to school, more kids could self-transport by bicycle, those things will help to take the burden off our bus fleet, but I'm just not sure everybody gets how urgent what's going on with transportation is. Okay, we'll start off. This is update number 16. We'll start off with our video from Manhattan for our field house and press box site. See a little leftover snow. I believe this video was Tuesday of last week. Monday or Tuesday of last week. A lot more structural steel on the field house, and we can see the full shape of the athletic offices, weight room area, and the second floor of that. The first floor will be the locker room. And now forward, what you can see the metal decking there of the second floor, concrete. We'll see a picture today has all been poured, what I'll call that horseshoe area for both sides of the bleachers, the back wall, and the varsity club that overlooks both the basketball field house court and the football stadium area. All that concrete got poured last week, so that was a huge step. So then we start to do. Here I got asked about what goes in this. You see that stem wall? I don't know if you can go back at all real quick. Go back about 3 or 4 seconds. Okay, so there to the very east side of that structure, that stem wall, that will hide our mechanical wall, just from the heat and air units, those kind of things. And it's blocked off. There's gates that keep the general public from getting in there. But it's just something nicer that we're doing to kind of keep some of those things that you don't want to see or don't want people to have attractive nuisances to get into. So.
Don't steal it.
Yeah, no, that would be horrible.
Yeah,
All right, so that's the video update for February, making significant progress. And again, I'll say this every month, September 2nd is that first home game. Although that seems, Dr. Mendenhall said 7 months today, to me that's 6.5 months. We're going to be working really hard to make sure we get that first home football game. What we're going to look at is the next 3 slides, and you'll see this is starting January 28th, so 3 weeks ago. We'll look at 3 weeks of progress in these 3 areas. So we can see about 3 weeks ago, that's when they just started framing the westernmost part of the structure, which again is the athletic offices, football locker room, training rooms, officials locker rooms for basketball and football, and as well as the second floor that has 2 classrooms and a weight room. So that's what you're seeing there. That first, the lower level, we start to see some framing for windows go in. I think that's almost complete. Looks like I can all agree. I think almost all the windows now have been framed in. When you drive by, you can see where glass will go in that structure. Lower left row, there's just a view looking from what I would say is the south side of the bleachers, looking south to the stadium, and you can most prominently see, if you look at the north end there of the field house, you can see the varsity club on the second floor. You can see that little overhang, and that's where our concession stand will be. That orange lift is almost exactly where our goalpost will go. So it gives you some orientation. The slide in the middle of the lower row, that's the press box. It's almost fully insulated. They have to leave a couple holes there just so they can get materials up through their lifts and not have to. Yeah, if you took the tour the other day and went up the stairs, you know why. There's holes in that structure so they can deliver materials that way as opposed to take them up by the stairs. It will be quite a while before the elevator, a couple months for sure, before the elevator gets installed to help with any of that. And then the picture to the right, lower right there, is looking out from the press box. The last weekend of January, you begin to see the framing of the various booths, whether that's a radio announcer booth or visitor's booth for the coaches, those kinds of things. All right, next slide, please. All right, again, so this starts a week later after the 28th. You can begin to see the progress. Remember, we had snow a couple weeks ago. It's 70 degrees outside, and we had snow a couple weeks ago. So, again, you just see the progress here. And these are pictures that Manhattan takes. They send it to our architects. Our architects do field walks every month, but these are just progress pictures that the architects use to check the work and the progress of work that's going on as well. Okay, let's go to one more slide. So this is last week, and we had some exciting things take place last week. You see the white metal stairs there, that is on the north side of the field house. So that's not the front entrance on the south side where the big grand staircase will be. There are 2 of those, one on the east side and one on the west side. Those got installed. And then our roofing membrane got installed, so that's great. And then you see the concrete decking that goes all the way around the home side, the visitor side, and the far north side to kind of complete that horseshoe area for that. Those are two significant things that were accomplished last week. All right, next slide. So really quickly, we had our topping out ceremony last Thursday. I know everybody wasn't able to make it, but for those of you that were, that was a fantastic. I think Dr. Mendenhall used some special magic and kept a beautiful day in his pocket for that, because you all think about February 10th and how nice that was to walk and see the site. Just thought that was a blessing to be outside and see what was going on that day. So thanks for coming out with that. And topping out again meant the last major piece of structural steel is in place. So everything else is just purlings and other small minor details in terms of metal work. The major things that will go on at this structure from February to March will be continued finish work on field house and locker rooms. Roof installation should begin within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully the next time we have our March board meeting, the roof is completely installed. That will be fantastic. This Thursday, I talked about this last month, we met for the first time. We do this the last Thursday of each month. The city, Muskogee Public Schools, county, fire department, Manhattan, and GH2, all to begin discussing the logistics that will go on for that first home football game. And I try to say this correctly, 80 plus years, the first time we've had to have significant varsity football game somewhere else in Muskogee. And so it's gonna take some work on our parts, communicating parking, traffic patterns, those kind of things. So we're already having those conversations we know when we get there, there'll be some hiccups, we know that. But at least we won't say, hey, we didn't start soon enough to talk about what will be the major problems. Okay, next slide. All right, Grant Foreman remodel. So that is our second, thank goodness right now, it's only our second active product. It's gonna get a lot busier here in 3 months. But anyway, so what's going on over at Grant Foreman? The gym painting started today, and that's gonna look like a completely new space. Flooring, carpet, and luxury vinyl tile are being installed right now. If you drive by Grant Foreman today, you can see the window installation. They can do about 1/3 of a classroom a day. Those classrooms have a lot of windows. So you got that old glass block, they're taking that out, and they're putting in about 1/3 of the windows. They take 1/3 out, they do the metal storefront framing, and so everyone says, what is metal storefront framing? If you look at that back entrance right there, you see the different columns. That represents metal storefront framing. That's what goes in, and then they put the glass inside. And then takes about 3 days to do each room. So if you have a chance to drive there by and see that progress, it looks really, really neat. Furniture orders begin this month. We'll buy approximately 1/3 of the furniture at Grant Foreman will be brand new this year, and all of that furniture will follow the students back to Sadler Arts Academy. So we're buying new furniture for Sadler. We get about 1/3 of it now, so they'll get it broken in just a little bit. Next slide, please. Just a few pictures of what's going on at Grant Foreman. I took these aren't professional, so I'll do my best. On the left, this is the main entrance. So right when you come in to the lobby, we see we're keeping the trash over. We're going to clean that up. That'll be the last thing to do. But in the wall there, and I guess someone else can correct me if they're a little better with that's kind of an Art Deco relief that's already in that wall right when you walk in. So we're going to paint within those diamonds and really bring that accent feature out in Muskogee school colors. I think that's going to look nice. That's Toby there. All right, he's the project manager. So if you're over there, over at Grant Foreman, need some help, you can ask for Toby. He'll be more than happy to help you. What I wanted to show there in that picture, if you've been in Grant Foreman recently and can remember, the tile was kind of a beige to an orangey beige. It matched a little bit what was in the floor. We have painted all that tile with an epoxy paint. We want to keep that tile because it does a great job protecting the wall of the wainscoting there. And so we've done that. And this is the north hallway. You see the nice contrast with the white. And my pictures do okay, but I promise you, when you're in that space with the new LED lights and the new ceiling tiles, it looks like a brand new hallway. I mean, I know we got to get the floors polished up, but that part of it just looks really, really good. Next slide. Okay, so this is probably the first classroom on the east side of the building, that very north hallway. So we just started laying carpet in there today. You can see the storefront, 1/3 of this storefront metal has already been installed, waiting on the glass for that space. The part to the left there, the old glass tiles and those other windows, those will all go away. None of that stays, but it gives a nice contrast in terms of what the windows are going to look like when they're installed and just how much natural light these classrooms are going to have. It's a neat building. I'm really glad we're able to kind of bring it back to the 21st century for students. And that last picture there is just the north entry doors, not that old tan anymore. That's a color we call iron ore, and just what painting those door frames, the hallway, just a little bit of paint can go a long ways in terms of refreshing the building. Okay, next slide. I'll go through these quickly. Again, this is just the data that's always in there. We post these each month on our website, so patrons that are tracking can begin to track the project, when the documents, when we open bids, what board meeting those bids will be effective, when we start the work, when we finish the work. Next slide. Okay, again, just 2 more links. So anybody can get on anytime, find out bond payments, every bond payment we made each month, what site it was for, what item it was for, and then finally we have live construction cameras. We don't have a live construction at Grant Foreman because 97% of the work is inside. That'd be a pretty boring camera, but we do have a live construction camera still on the field house. That is all I have. I tried to talk really fast because Miss Yahola's presentation is way more exciting than mine. That future college is something I think is just an awesome opportunity. So any questions, anybody? Mr. Jefferson, you see anything? What was your favorite thing that you saw on Thursday? Put you on the spot.
I was impressed with the press box.
Okay.
Really was.
Awesome.
That's a huge structure.
Beautiful views up there, aren't there?
It's a lot bigger than what it looks like from the road. I
Yeah,
can tell
yeah.
you that.
I get that question a lot just about the basketball court itself. Is that court gonna be big enough? From wall to wall, you get in there, it's 120 feet. The basketball court, maximum length's 94 feet. So it's a pretty big space. It's gonna be awesome. Dr. Ben, only thing I missed?
No, I think you got it.
I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Yohola. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Try to give you that time.
I'll only keep you guys there until about 9.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Mendenhall. It is a great day to be a rougher, as you saw from Mr. Crawley's presentation. We're growing and improving, and so tonight I'm going to share with you the Early College Start program proposal that we have. A brief description of our programs. We're going to partner with Connors State College. We've been in discussions with them for a month or so, a couple of months. Students will be able to graduate with a diploma, so a high school diploma, but also by the time they graduate from high school, they will have an associate's degree. The recruitment of this program will begin with 8th graders. We will bridge them into a 9th grade program where they move as a cohort so that they can rely on each other and build relationships with each other. We have safety nets built in so that they feel supported and they will be successful in the program while they're in it, because as you know, this will be a little bit more rigorous than a regular high school education. And I will get to the safety nets and the cost to students by the end of the presentation. The participants that we'll target for this in the proposal are underrepresented groups that typically go to college. So those underrepresented groups include first-generation college students, students of color, English learners, students with disabilities, and students from low-income families. The progression through high school. So we will recruit these students as 8th graders. In the summer before their 9th grade year, we will do a bridge program for a week long to kind of teach them some note-taking skills and to get them used to the rigor that they will have to experience in the program. We want them to build relationships with each other. We want them to move through the program as a cohort so that they have support of their peers as well as the other supports that we have built in. Their 9th grade year will be pre-AP courses or AP courses, so that they will raise that rigor there as 9th graders. We do have some pre-AP courses for 9th graders, but typically they don't take the AP courses. There will be no Connors courses in the 9th grade year. That will just be getting them acclimated to the level of rigor for the program. The 10th grade year, first semester in the fall, will still be just a typical semester where they're still taking those pre-AP and AP courses. But the second semester, the spring semester of their 10th grade year, they will actually enroll in their first Connors course, which will be college orientation. So just that 1-hour course to get you used to the university studies and where things are, and just to acclimate to the college. The summer before their junior year, they will take 2 honors courses. So this program will require a time commitment from the student and the parents, because they have to understand that if they are accepted into the program, then it's going to be like a second job, or a job. Going to school is their first job, so it'll be like having a job. In their junior year, they will take 4 courses each semester, so 12 hours each semester. So they would be considered a full-time college student at that point. The other courses that they take would be just MHS electives to keep them part of our MHS culture and part of our school, so that they still have that high school experience. The summer between school years of their 10th grade year and their 11th grade year, before their senior year, they will take 2 honors courses. And then their senior year, they will take 12 hours and 12 hours. At the end of their senior year, they should have 61 credit hours, which is equivalent to an associate's degree. As their second semester of their junior year and the first couple of semesters of the 2 semesters of their senior year, they will begin to select their courses based on what they want their associate's degree to be in. So most of them will go with a liberal arts degree, just because there are so many different areas of liberal arts that they could achieve. But if there are students who want to get an associate's degree in a STEM area or other areas that are not liberal arts, that's still a possibility. At that point, they wouldn't all continue as a cohort, because they'll be separated out into degree programs. But still, we think that with the 2.5, 3 years that they do have together, they'll have that bonding and relationship with each other to be able to still lean on each other, even though they're not in the same courses. So the safety nets that we have in place, Connors has agreed to provide academic counseling, tutoring services, their library services on Muskogee's campus as well as on Warner's campus, and tuition waivers. They already provide 6 hours of tuition waivers for Muskogee High School concurrent students as juniors and 18 hours as seniors. So that's what we're discussing now. They may choose to provide more than that for us for this program. Muskogee is going to provide a full-time employee that will be over this program on the Connors campus, because these kids will be kind of hybrid students where they will take some of their courses on Connors campus here in Muskogee, and then they will go back to the high school for some of their courses, so that they're in between both worlds. They will also be provided academic counseling through the high school. This full-time employee will have access to their grades. There will also be a person on Connors campus who will have access to their grades. So weekly, their grades will be checked, and if they begin falling before they get too far behind, we will implement that academic counseling and give them those supports so that they can continue through the program before they get so far behind that they wouldn't be able to catch up. And then parent meetings will be yearly, so that we continue to support those families and let them help them to understand the importance of their support of their student in this program. The cost, Connors has agreed to give us the tuition waivers. We're still talking about maybe doing an adjusted hourly tuition rate for them. They're looking at their side of it, but we don't know a total yet for that. And tuition waivers. We have also talked about providing some possible shared faculty that are currently our high school teachers that have master's degrees that would allow them to teach Connors courses. And so we could have maybe a faculty member from the high school that teach some of those courses. We would provide the books for that. They would be checked in and out of the library at the high school, so that cost would be minimal. We would only have to replace those books as they're replacing them at Connors. It wouldn't be an every semester thing. And the tuition and student fees that are outside of the tuition waivers that Connors has agreed to pay. The total cost per student there for the 4 years is $7,086. That's if they charge us what they charge typical students right now. So as I said, we're in discussions of them providing us a lesser tuition rate or a lesser student fees rate, so that could go down from there. That's the maximum that we would spend. That does not include the cost of books, because that's kind of hard to determine right now for over 4 years. So we have checked with the State Department and asked if we could use Title I funds to cover the cost of this, and they've said that is appropriate and would be an allowable expense for our Title I claims. So that's where we would plan on getting the money, and that means that for the students there would be absolutely no cost. So they would get to graduate with a high school diploma, have 2 years with an associate's degree, and that way when they leave high school, they have 2 years before they can get a 4-year bachelor's degree. So hopefully that would get them closer to completing a 4-year degree. TCC also does this. They partner with 5 high schools right now, and they really work hard with the families to get as many students on Oklahoma's Promise as they can, so that when those students move on to that 4-year university, they still have no cost to themselves or minimal cost to themselves if they're on Oklahoma's Promise. One of their examples, sorry Steve, one of their examples was that they had a cohort of 28 students at one of their high schools. 26 of them graduated with their associates and went on to a 4-year university. One of them went into the military from that point, and another one just stopped with their associates and became employed at that point. So they have a very high success rate, and we're working with them to model our program off of their program. They've already worked out a lot of the kinks and wrinkles in the plan, so we hope to learn from them as we're going through this process. Now, Steve. So do you guys have any questions?
Yes, you were saying that the children would go from Connors to MHS. We're talking about giving them transportation, or are you thinking
Yes,
about?
but we would have a bus that would, we have talked about grouping their classes all to be in the morning, or hopefully in the morning, so that we would transport them from the high school or from their bus routes to the Connors campus. We would pick them up at lunchtime and bring them back to the high school so they could eat lunch at the high school and have their afternoon classes at the high school.
Okay.
I think this program is great, I really do. We talked about this a little bit today at a meeting, but just being devil's advocate here, what are we gonna tell the parents who don't qualify to do this? You go from, I know that you get the 18 hours you talked about, everybody, but that's a long way from 61 hours. And I'm just kind of curious, have we thought about that, or how are we gonna approach that?
Dr. Mendenhall?
Yeah, I figured. So I think you've got to, let me kind of go back, and I'm going to answer your question, but I want to go back and kind of tell you how this played out. 3 years ago, one of the first gentlemen to reach out to me as the superintendent was Dr. Ron Ramming. He asked that we meet every month and have lunch. And so one of the things I began to talk to him about is, have you ever thought about having an early college program? Because you got to have a community college or a junior college partner with you. You can't partner with a 4-year institution as a high school per state constitution. And so one of the things that I talked to him about was that I think this is a real need here in this community. And he basically kind of said, give us some time. We're getting ready to go through some accreditation. stuff, and then we'll eventually, come back. Well, 3 years later, here we are, and I'm very pleased to say that his board of trustees will be looking at this and taking that as an item, and then basically the Commission for Higher Education will also look at this and be looking at the partnership. There are 5 schools, like you said, that partner in the Tulsa metro area. There's also one out, I believe, in the Panhandle. Guyman High School has this opportunity, but we're only familiar with those 6 high schools. There are those 6 partnerships that exist. So this would be another one. I've been asked about, well, what about other schools around this area? What I want to do is get the program off and running with Muskogee Public School students first, and then we will invite others such as Haskell, Warner, Hilldale, Fort Gibson, Tahlequah, others that would like to join us and maybe build that cohort. You asked about the numbers. First off, this is hot off the press. They have agreed to pay half, so they will pay the 18 hours plus in the junior year they'll pay another, I believe, 12 hours. And so it's half of the 61 hours is what they're looking at, so that we would be have to pay half of that for the student. That is coming out of Title funds or Title I funds for that student, okay? The other piece of this is other students. I don't think this is going to be a program for everyone. There will be students that are on other pathways. For instance, if you're going to go get a licensure or something, a career tech pathway is really, ICTC is still really that path for you. There may be a student that's, maybe an AP student, wants to be a doctor, maybe an engineer, has really good grades, trying to get, Val or Sal or something like that, and this may not be a program for them. They may not want to go and get an associate's degree previous to going to the University of Oklahoma or someplace else. So there's going to be other pathways for other students. I do think, Mr. Jefferson, it will be difficult to make the choice, especially early on. We're looking at, and we've got to identify 25 to 30, and I don't think that'll be hard. It'll be, 50 or 60 that may want in. And what we're doing is there's a huge commitment from the family. I'm going to tell you, you got to realize it's hard enough to be a freshman in college and actually get through the courses and be away from home. But we're talking about children that they can't even drive yet. They're 14, 15 years old in the 9th grade, moving from 8th to 9th grade. So there's a big commitment from that family to move into that direction, if you will. So we're going to really lean really hard on families and parents to say, hey, this is a very big commitment, because we don't want for you to get into this program and then drop out your sophomore year. So hopefully that's one of the things that we're going to try to do with our counseling, is really coach and help people understand that this is not a program for everybody, but it is a program that's going to be open to everyone, and then we'll look at those applicants to see kind of where we are. At the end of the day, you would wind up with about 100 students, potentially. So each year, it would take us 4 years to get to that 100 students. We would stay on campus, actually, the first year at Muskogee. And then the second year, we would transition maybe to Connors. And then the third year is exactly right, Ms. Yahola was talking about. We would keep those students in that cohort. Basically, those students would take all of their courses kind of together, and they would go to Connors here on the Muskogee campus, and then they would be transported back to Muskogee High. So I'll be honest with you, it's one of the most exciting things I've been a part of since I've been here, just because I know that it changes the lives of kids, and it changes the lives of really families. And so I think this could be a really neat situation for a lot of our kids, and really fill that void that maybe we've not had before. So, and I'm real skeptical of programs, because I think everybody has got to be real careful that, it doesn't work. Not every program works for every student. But I will tell you that if a student that wants to commit to something like this with an associate's degree, you got to realize you're basically automatically can get into every college and four-year institution, at least in Oklahoma. And so that's what's really exciting for me is that piece. What other questions do you have for us? I know Ms. Yahola, she's the expert. She's been really in the details of all of this, and want to make sure that you have all of your questions answered.
I do have one more thing to add to that, Dr. Mendenhall. Mr. Jefferson, please remember that we will still offer those concurrent pathways for those students as well. We won't take away that option, so there will still be that option for those students to do concurrent, whether they want to do that through Northeastern, OSU, Connors.
Yeah, that's where that's
online.
24 hours that I think is 18 and 6.
18 and 6, right?
Yeah.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would get them almost. And if they were really serious, they could still take those summer courses. They would have to pay for them, but they would get them halfway to an associate's degree. So we would really target those underrepresented groups, but we wouldn't close the application to other groups.
And there might be a time that we look at and we take 32, because one class we took 24. It might, be a variable there. But I do think this will be something early on that everybody will be really a part of and want to be a part of. But as time goes, I think people will realize, news travels. It's not going to be an easy avenue. It's going to be something that you got to be really committed to. Students will be able to be athletes, so they'll be able to take their, whether you're in the choir or play basketball, you're going to be able to still do that in this program as well.
Right. Yeah, I like that part. I also like the part that the target students that we've set up. I think that's a group we desperately need to help out. Those kids that give them an opportunity to go to college. I like that a lot.
Ms. Yahola, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7.
Item 7, reports, comments from members of the Board of Education.
I want to thank MEA for the cookies. Thank you. That was awful nice of you.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't know if you know, Tommy had a rough bout with COVID. I'm glad to have him back.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I went to a Muskogee Ford meeting today, and you heard the bacon and egg analogy. The chicken's involved, but the pigs committed. So I was around about 50 plus pigs today, and it was really enlightening to me to see how many people are within our community. I think we are supported by and have some really, really great ideas even outside the box. That's all I have.
Our city foundation held a meeting today, and we had a chance to be there. I think Mr. Stewart actually was able to be a part of some of it as well, but had a lot of great conversation about the direction of the city and where we want to go with economic development. And what I'm proud of is that they give us a lot of credit for spurring a lot of that economic development in our community, because the community said yes to a bond issue, which we all know has to be a 60% supermajority vote. So a lot of people are behind what the school district is doing. So, and I appreciate both of you being there today too, by the way.
Anyone else? Item 8.
Item 8, standing resolutions. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Muskogee School District I-20, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, to approve standing resolutions A through K as listed.
Good evening, Dr. Mendenhall, members of the board. First, I'd like to start off and welcome Ms. Horse Chief to the Board of Education. We're proud to have her here as our newest board member.
Thank
I'll get started. I'll try not to bore you. I'll give you the same spiel every month. But starting off with A, approve the minutes of our previous board meeting on January 18th. B, schedule of payments. These are all the payments we made for the month of January. Checks for accounts payable. And I believe I've mentioned this before, but EP is our electronic payments, our e-payables. And that's a program, I'm really wanting to push that to more vendors we can get to take it. We make a little bit of money using that. We get a little bit of a percentage back on that. It's kind of a neat deal. AF, that's our activity fund checks. And DD is our direct deposits for our monthly payroll. C, schedule of encumbrances. We're going to approve POs 2214 through 2553, and those are listed in a separate tab in your board books. D, our operating and investment funds for the month of January. We had a little over $9.7 million in our operating account, and that nice little bump there is due to getting our first half of our tax payments, so that's nice. We get a big positive balance in our bank account. Activity fund account, a little under $450,000 at the end of January. Financial report, I will point out the financial statements are in your board book under section E. Next section, POs over $15,000. First one, Sunburst Spraying for ground spraying. Tankers Leaf Food for food. And Midwest Sporting Goods for football jerseys and pants. Next section, contracts, EMS Link. Those are two broke out. And I previously brought this to you, I believe, 2 months ago, and we decided not to vote on that when I was having some issues, so I'm bringing that back to you. That is for a new time clock system that will integrate with our accounting system, which we think will make things flow a little bit smoother. And also this 793 project's paying for is CARES 2 money, and this is a time clock system that scans a retinal, so we don't have to touch a keypad. Frontline Education is application tracking services. That's broke out in two contracts there, one for 21-22 and 22-23. School Safe is building security systems to secure our vestibules. As you notice, the first one is a little under $7,000. I believe we're going to test pilot it in 2 sites, and hopefully it all goes well. Then the next year we will integrate it into the additional sites. We had no activity fund transfers for the month of January. Tony Getz PTO has turned in their information to have y'all approve their sanctioning. No surplus equipment for the month. Okay, approval of mowing bids to be announced, and I believe Mr. Crawley assured me that that information is in front of you, the tabulation sheets. At the time I was preparing this, we did not know who was going to be awarded the bids, but you should have that information in front of you. Is there any questions or that I can answer for you, or any comments you'd like to make?
I do think, for the record, we need to state the 2 names of the 2 groups that will be getting those, Mr. Crawley, don't you think?
Okay.
I think it was Blessed Ground, and the other one is ZLT Contracting?
Yes, and the same, the low bidders were the 2 bidders who had previously been approved under the previous bid. And that is a blank copy also of our bid document, so you can see how significant that is in terms of, it's about an 18-page document and the requirements for all of those vendors to put on. We don't just say, hey, what we lower our grounds for. It's a pretty sophisticated document, protects the district very well. So we have a good relationship with the 2 vendors, and they were low vendors. It's Blessed Grounds and ZLT.
Say their names again. Blessed.
Blessed Grounds.
Okay.
And ZLT.
ZLT.
I move that we approve item A through K.
Second.
It's been moved and we approved item 8, A through K. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9,
Item 9, proposed executive session. An executive session is proposed for discussion of personnel recommendations A through K, names listed below, being presented for the resignation, termination, or employment of staff members, with vote to be taken after return to open session pursuant to Oklahoma Statute 25307B1.
Move on to executive session.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. We go into executive session. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are now in executive session.
I don't think they need to.
Item 10. We are now in open session. Item 11.
All members of the Board of Education present at this meeting attended the executive session. Dr. Jared Mendenhall was asked to participate in the executive session. While in executive session, the board discussed only the following items. A, personal recommendations A through K being presented for the resignation, termination, or employment of staff members, with vote to be taken after return to open session pursuant to Oklahoma Statute 25 OS 307B1 as authorized by Oklahoma Statutes Title 25, Section 307B1. No other matters were discussed and no votes were taken. The board returned to open session at 7:30.
All right, I'll entertain a motion from item 12, A through K with amended item F. Go ahead.
I
Make a motion. Okay.
I was gonna give the motion, but approve item 12.
Second.
Amended.
As
Amended.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, an amendment moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13. Item 14.
We adjourn. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Oh, boy.